hopefully that gave you an opportunity to at least get started. If we could go to the next slide, please, Kevin. Now, I really want you to just reflect on that story and think about the things that I have there listed above. So we've got time for myself, time for others, creative thinking, logical thinking. You might have other things that you would want to have on your little measuring stick, but there's a starting point for you. How would you rate each of these things based on your story? What would you like to experience more of? And what would you like to reduce? So you could do a little graphic for yourself or just make some notes on your story. I'm curious to know whether anything jumps out at for any of you from your story, and as you're reflecting on your experience and what you might like to see happen moving forward. You can feel free to unmute or put it in the chat.
For me, I kind of took a pause in this little list with the time for others, because I found one of the things that I noticed during COVID is that I'm spending, even though it's COVID, right? And we're all in isolation and quarantine for the last year. I've spent a lot of time with other people. Does that make sense? It seems weird, so, and time for others includes my family. My mom came and stayed with me. My mom's getting rather old and we just didn't feel comfortable. She lives in Florida. I live in South Carolina. We didn't feel comfortable with her being on her own. So she came and stayed with me periodically for extended period of times, is really as long as she could stand me, which wasn't all that long because she couldn't stand too much of it. And, I had family members come and stay with me. So my house seemed to have been kind of this space where people descended. And then work, time for others professionally. Because I work for an international company, we have offices in Australia and in the UK, and of course here in the United States. I would be meeting with Australia at like 9 o'clock at night, and I'd be meeting with the UK. So there's this work, kind of boundary didn't exist. It was always, I was always available, and that was really, really problematic. So I had to kind of push back, but I was like, I'm here anyway, I might as well just get on Zoom. So I thought that time is kind of, because the more time you give to other people, which is wonderful, the less time you give to yourself. So.
Yeah, thanks for that observation, Gail. I had the same experience where not so much with other people, not work related, but definitely the work for others. Although I guess I was really, engaged with my yoga communities and things, but yeah. And I love time with others, but I recognize that that slider needs to go in a different direction for me moving forward. And I see Kevin says he needs to increase the first 3 slider bars. I'm so surprised about that, Kevin. I didn't know that about you. And Jennifer says she's struggling with energy as an extrovert living with introverts. She's felt less productive than ever. Even though you're working constantly, it feels like time for others is off the charts and the other 3 sliders are very low. Yeah, I'm actually an introvert, but I channel extrovert energy very well, I think. But the problem is it's just been sucking everything out of me. And I really feeling the same way, very low energy, very burnt out. Our term is about to start next Friday. So I have to kind of get myself into the mode of I need to be back at work. And I've been really lucky this year. I didn't get a holiday last year, but I have had a few weeks off this year. And I'm just like, okay, I need to plan for how I'm going to actually do this work moving forward so that I can feel really energized and productive and creative. Because, when you're feeling low, which I think is not uncommon for folks these days, everybody I talk to is feeling a little bit burnt out. And or a lot burnt out. So, how do we rejuvenate that energy and get ourselves into a zone where we can feel like we are being productive, but also feel like we're being replenished at the same time? Yeah, Karen, reprioritize time for yourself. Totally agree. Seems like a lot of people are feeling the same way as Kevin, need to increase time for myself, time for others, creative thinking. And having that time to recharge is really, really important. So yeah, so I think that leads us to, we've had a little reflection time. We've told our story about what happened in the last year. So the big question then is, what do you need more of to thrive? So just take a minute and, if that's time for myself, think about that. And I really have been enjoying the work of Jay Shetty. You might know Jay has written this book, which I have handy here, called Think Like a Monk. And he also has a great podcast called On Purpose. So you might want to check those out. But he writes that living intentionally means stepping back from external goals, letting go of outward definitions of success, and looking within. And he says, start with breathing, which we've done, check. But, really thinking about, and this is something that I struggle with, and I don't, I think it's partly my upbringing and the time that I was raised in the 80s when women could do everything. And, I had parents who were wonderful and said, if you want to do it, of course you can do it. And so I think I've had this mindset throughout my career that, I really want to do a good job and want to do it really well. And I might have a little bit of a type A controlling personality that wants to do it also perfectly. And my what I need more of to thrive is, the ability to really let go and let other people do the fantastic work that they do. I have an amazing team. Kevin has had the opportunity to meet them, like truly amazing, the best people, some of the best people I've ever had the privilege of working with. And they're super highly competent and they don't need me to micromanage. And I'm not a micromanager, and I do kind of operate from a point of trust. But I found during the pandemic that there was so much going on that it really just required me to kind of have my hands in all of these cookie jars. And so, I've got this plan. My partner, I said to him the other day, I am so excited about going back to work because I've got this whole new plan. My team's going to just report to me and I'm just going to be there overseeing. And he was like, yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. So he knows me well, and it's true. I will have to practice this, but I really know that I need more of that ability to just have that creative brainstorming, thinking space, because that's how we're going to do really fantastic work. So, so I think that's for me what I need more of. And is anybody interested in what they need to sharing what they need more of to thrive?
I think that I need like more consistency and more boundaries. So I feel like during this time, so I decided to go to grad school, and I know I shared this earlier, but some of you weren't in the room. I was in another graduate program and it was online and I hated it. So I decided to come to Auburn because I already live here, and I was like, university is 10 minutes down the road. I'll go to school there because I don't want to go to school online. And then the pandemic hit and everything was online. And so that was a switch. And then because that was online and I'm a graduate assistant, all of my work was online. So suddenly my entire life revolved around being in my house. And that's not really how I was. So like Gail mentioned, because I'm already here, there was no like work-life separation. And I was constantly doing work. And I remember like this spring, I took over our social media and I was in a staff meeting and they're like, oh, how's this going? And I think this was in February. And I was like, oh, it's great. I've started this social media series that I'm going to post, and I've got every post for it done from now until the day I graduate. And, and that would have been a year later, or over a year later. And they're like, oh, okay, well, that's a lot. Maybe you need to kind of relax. And, it would be like midnight and I'm still doing work and I'm going to bed tired, waking up tired. I also, like my first semester, because there were like no boundaries, and I was constantly working and not taking any time for myself. I actually had a panic attack in front of my class on Zoom, which I thought I saved myself from by like turning off the camera and muting, but I missed the mute button because my professor had to mute me and everyone was private messaging me, making sure that I was okay. And I was like, well, this is great. And also just like kind of the consistency factor of things is like I came from work where you did the same kind of tasks every single day. But taking this job gave me the opportunity to try so many more things, and we're very project-based and collaborative, which is fantastic. But I think I would have made that transition easier if the world wasn't already so chaotic. And so I started this job and they're like, we need you to create this workshop series and adapt it for COVID. And I'm like, cool, how do I do that? Because I've never even hosted a workshop. And they were like, we don't know either because there's no protocol for COVID because it's never happened before. So I just remember like me and my fellow GAs were all so stressed because none of us knew what we were doing. And so I need to kind of find some more like consistent areas for myself and set those boundaries and kind of learn how to take that time for myself to thrive.
Thanks so much for sharing, Autumn. I feel you, and it's no small feat, you know, frankly, to do that, to kind of set those boundaries, to figure out what that looks like. And I see like a ton of things going on in the chat, so I'm gonna get there in a second. But I thought your comments are a really nice segue to the next slide, because you know I think it's important for all of us to figure out like what's our own personal mantra that we will carry with us. And so, you know, mine is I'm fueled by happy thoughts, regular walks, and space for creativity. So like that's a tall order and not at the same time, right? So, you know, for me, it's about if I notice kind of negative, like I'm feeling frustrated because I'm so busy. Okay, pause. I'm fueled by happy thoughts. So like, how can I reframe that? Regular walks is actually a bigger one for me. I have a tendency to get online and, you know, I'm trying to get things done. It sounds like you have had a similar experience, right? We could work 24 hours a day. You know, there's no shortage of things that the world needs doing. So, and just making time and space to get up and go for a regular walk. And it can be 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be, you know, a 5K, 10K marathon. But, you know, that's also where I find a lot of space for creativity as I'm listening to podcasts or just walking in my head, you know, where I have these great ideas of things that I can work on or do in my job that kind of are creative. So, so figure out a routine that aligns with the mantra that you can derive from what you need more of to thrive and what you want to take from your story. You know, and it can be something really simple. It doesn't have to be a whole new brand new routine. You might be driving to work if you get to drive to work these days, and just notice something new on the way. You know, it might be out for your walk. Oh, there's a bird in a tree. It's easy for us to, at least for me, I'm like, gotta walk, you know, gotta burn those calories and close my rings. And, you know, just taking time to hear the sounds that are going on around me or to smell the smells. You know, like it can be really, really simple things. And we need practice. You know, we all have patterns that are ingrained within us. I mentioned a little bit earlier that from my own upbringing and my past experiences and probably the time in which I grew up, I have these patterns that are sort of really deep grooves in my system. And in Indian philosophy, those are called samskaras. And it's not that we can't change them, but you know, it's like creating a habit. It takes a little bit of practice, right? And the deeper the groove, the more practice it takes to actually get into that habit or routine. So really thinking carefully for yourselves, what is that mantra and how will you practice making those intentions come to fruition? And it's not a judgment thing. I fail at these things all the time. And so I think rather than think about it as failure equals bad, I really like it as an acronym: first attempt in learning. So I've been trying to start a regular meditation practice for a while, and I'm like, okay, I'm going back to episode 1. I'm going to take something new from that today. I've heard it a couple times, but that's okay. I think I can still do it. Rather than beating ourselves up about it, we just try again, get up and try again. And eventually we'll see some little tiny improvements. And I think if we're mindful of what's happening and how we're trying to be intentional, that, really helps in and of itself, because we're like, okay, that's okay. I practiced, right? I did what I was doing, wanted to do. I see lots of amazing things in the chat. Please feel free to unmute and share if you like. And I'm just kind of scrolling up to see what people have said, but please feel free to jump in if you'd like.
I was just going to say that this has gotten me to thinking about what I need to thrive and what fuels me. Well, I think that for probably many people in here, the fuel source may have changed. So I've gone from gas to electric. I don't know what the shift is, but really what fueled me before may not be what fuels me anymore. So people are talking about those changes and longer walks with their dogs, and these practices that we made. Our habits have changed, and our way of being has changed. And we've identified things that are potentially more important than things that we used to prioritize. So I don't know that we've had the time to, like, this is excellent, this conversation and this reflection, and to look at these things, but to truly pause long enough, as like globally as well as personally, to sort of understand the impacts and what may fuel us now, which, what is the source of the fuel and how has that changed? So I just wanted to share that. I was thinking that.
Oh, I love that. Gas to electric. Fantastic metaphor. Yeah, I think that's happened for a lot of people around the world. And it's one of those things where if it hasn't changed for people around you, that's interesting to note in and of itself. Maybe, we're not in the right place for us in a given moment. Maybe we need to have broader changes. And so which can be really scary, because, even just to change our own habits, the idea of, I don't have to be all things to all people in my job or in my life. And, going back to that slider, more time for self, and I don't know, for me personally, as a woman who grew up in the 80s, that's a hard pill to swallow, because I'm supposed to be able to do it all and be this great role model. And, and I think I've strived over my career, but I did have a milestone birthday in 2020. And I have friends who are also in the 5s, and we're like, once you get to the 5s, Autumn, you're gonna, and Victoria, you guys will know what we mean later. But I have, as I've reflected back, I noticed, oh, well, it was different also when I got to the 3s, and it was different again when I got to the 4s. And so I think over time, our interests change as we have children or families, or, we have new experiences. And so again, not just rolling through life, not noticing those things and paying attention to how that story is ever evolving for us as individuals, I think is important. I know I'm seeing in the chat people really noticing that they need to have more sleep. Huge. And, when I first got to the university that I work at currently, it's a big medical school. And I went to a session, and they were sort of talking about how we would work with faculty who are medical professionals and how they're training their students. And someone said, well, if you need more than 6 hours sleep, then, you're just not functioning at a very high capacity. And I thought, I need like 8 to 10 hours of sleep. Am I dead in the water here? Interestingly, that idea has completely shifted and changed, I think, especially over the last year, but even before that, where we recognize that no, our brains need that restful time, and we don't do our best work when we've had too little sleep. And so finding some way for you to get into a better sleep pattern is really, really important. I mentioned sleep meditations and yoga nidra for that. So yeah, do what you need to do. That sleep is such importance. Yeah, walking, super fulfilling, super restorative, totally. Get outside. There are great walking meditations. Um, and Erin has found that the year has clarified for her what to let go of, and which goes with having boundaries that others have mentioned. Awesome. Um, you know, Lance, wholeheartedly agree. You know, we all need to get over the feeling of guilt for taking time for ourselves and not working. Um, and Jay Shetty has this really great note about this as he's talking about how do we be more mindful and intentional. And sleep, of course, is on his list of the top 7 things to do. But also he was speaking a little bit about our spare time and whether we use our time for education and enlightenment, or whether we use our spare time just for kind of checking out. And, he advocates that, ideally, and it's not to say we can't binge watch Netflix or do things that are don't require a lot of bandwidth, but that the more things that we can do that truly help to educate or enlighten us, the more restful and intentional we'll feel about our lives overall. And I really took that to heart because I thought, oh, I feel like I might be doing a lot of checking out, and that's probably not refueling me in the way that reading a good book would do. And he says you don't even have to read, you can listen to an audiobook, you can do whatever it looks like enlightenment. I saw Kevin mentioned earlier that he's going to take an art class to tap into that creative side. So that's enlightenment. So thinking about what that looks like for you is really important. Yeah, 3 hours of sleep, not a great example. No, I agree. So anyhow, lots of great conversation. I want to just go to the next slide. And this, I think you've already kind of got there. So we're spending some time in this session today. So really identify 1 to 3 goals that you want to work on, or intentions that you want to set for yourself. And then start to plan and strategize how you're going to get there. Again, what am I going to do? What's my one goal or intention? What are some things I'm going to do this week? And then what are some things where am I going to get to by the end of this month? So we can do really small incremental steps. We don't necessarily have to do it all. And in fact, we shouldn't do it all. That will keep it simple. The KISS, sort of idea is really important. And we want to really consider how we can plan for incremental change. Again, those samskaras that are deeply embedded in us take some time to change. So it's not that you need to do all things all the time. And maybe it's, I'm going to get out of my chair and hit my stand goal 12 times today. And I'm going to do that all week long. It sounds like a silly little goal, but that would be massive for me. It drives me crazy that blue circle never closes. And my sister's like, you just need to do this. And I'm like, well, that's cheating. I can't cheat. I actually have to stand up and meet the goal. So, think about what that looks like for you. Build your intention into your wider life or work goals. You might build in reflection meeting times with your family or with your colleagues, where you just spend some time reflecting on how was your day, or how's this project going? Let's reflect on and just have some time in quiet space. We try to, when I'm on campus, go for walking meetings so that we get out of the office and just get to have a little fresh air and things. And then, continue the practice of regularly reflecting on what's working and what's not, well, I failed at that, I guess that's over, but, revisit that intention and see where there might be opportunities for you to change things. And I think most of us come up with plans that are really well-intentioned, that we think genuinely will work. And when they fall off the rails, we kind of like, okay, well, that was done. And we maybe start another thing. Maybe it's returning to that first thing to really investigate and explore. Was it the practice that didn't work? was it the time of day I was trying to implement it? Is it that I need to tweak it for the context in which I'm living and working? So, we can be curious, and I think really employ a growth mindset about these things. Kevin and I were using the growth mindset language earlier when we were speaking about this session. It's not that it's a failure. We're just not there yet. And I love that that's full of possibility, that there's always places that we can get to that we didn't anticipate, even with the best laid plan. So that's really nice. I see other people love walking meetings as well. And I will just put out an open invitation. It's a little scary because this is being recorded, but in Grenada, I always rent space that has a separate bedroom and bathroom for guests. So if anybody needs a little retreat, feel free to come, connect with me and plan a little adventure, because walking meetings in Grenada are especially lovely. So if we could go to the next slide, please, Kevin. Be kind to your mind. And this doesn't have to be all lofty mindfulness and being super yoga meditation kind of practiced. You can just enjoy the little things. I love my morning coffee, as my colleagues know, and always see me with my cup in hand. And I often am on my phone and on my computer, and maybe just taking a minute to really enjoy and savor that first cup of the day, or maybe it's your second or 10th, whatever, so that you can really appreciate it and enjoy it. I think we sometimes do these things on the fly. Similarly, many of you know that my partner and I are mega foodies. We love to go and eat good food, and he's a fantastic chef. Often we are having dinner with our phones, managing our email and things. And so really taking that time to savor whatever it is that you're doing, so that, you have that. And that can take as little or as long as you like. The coffee, might take 5 minutes, or you could turn that into an hour. So really think about what those little things are that you could do that would show yourself some kindness for this practice.
Can I share something that I do that I think people might actually enjoy?
Please do.
So my husband would never would have dreamed that he would go along with this. And it's been happening now for 3 years. And so every morning I cut up little strips of paper, and every morning it takes 2 minutes. We write down, today I am grateful for, and what we're grateful for, and we share it. And at first he was terrible at this activity, and he would just write, my tea, or, the new shorts that I'm wearing, or like just anything that was just, but I said, it doesn't matter. Like, just write whatever it is you want to write. And since then we've done some incredible things. But the best part of that is we have a jar. It's decorative, doesn't have to be, could it be any container, your choice. We throw those in there. And then on New Year's Eve, generally it's just him and I together, but you could choose whatever night it is. We dump them into a bowl, and we're always amazed at how many tabs are in there. I mean, obviously 2 times 365 if you did it every day, but there's countless. So you throw them into the bowl, and just as the night progresses, you pull one out occasionally, and we always date them. So I'll be able to look back and go, oh, April the 3rd, look at what I was grateful for. Oh, remember that. And it generates so much conversation and positivity and loveliness. And then we end up burning them usually at a big bonfire at the end of the year, so that we've got a clean jar and a clean slate, and it just becomes a memory. But it's such an easy thing to do. And honestly, it might feel uncomfortable when you first do it, and start that sentence, today I am grateful for, and just take 1 minute. And it can be something silly. It doesn't have to be something monumental, and you'll be surprised at what it turns into. I promise you, if you do it for 21 to 30 days, it will change your habits.
Oh my gosh, I'm like almost tearing up here. Well, I am tearing up here. I'm like, oh, that is so lovely. And what a great practice, and so simple too, to do with either a loved one or even for ourselves. So powerful. Thank you so much for sharing. Are there other practices that anyone else has engaged in that they want to share?
Not after that one.
Oh my gosh. Well, I see that you're going to begin that today, Gail. I love that with your nieces, and Lance's family does that too. Oh my gosh. Very nice. I love that. really kind of nearing the end of the planned part, other than what I was going to offer you is a bit of a guided meditation, and that you're welcome to join for that or not. It'll take us 10 or 15 minutes probably. Just take you through 61 points on your body that will help you to feel rejuvenated and relaxed. And so that's the last little bit of this session, but I did want to just open it up for comments, questions, other ideas. I love that Lance's family is getting rid of the complaints, burning those up. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, the last two slides have just thank you, my contact information, and also a set of resources. We'll post those in the conference portal so that you have access to it. And I really hope that you are, stay well, that you got something out of this session, that you're able to take it with you and incorporate one or two things into your practice every day. As I said, we are going to end with a guided meditation, and it can be done in any way that you like. So most people like to do it lying down in Shavasana or corpse pose, so just lying on your back with palms up, but you could also do it seated, and I've done it seated, and it works as well too. And I wanted to give you some things that you could potentially do at your desk. You don't have to go to the yoga studio to actually practice these things. We can all do them in our areas. Another tip that I have is that we tend to, those of us who sit a lot, hold a lot of tension in our hips. And one really fun trick that I learned from one of my favorite yoga teachers is that you can just, take a little time, just kind of moving your neck and noticing how it feels. And then you can get out of your chair and just start to swivel your hips and move around. And then, do that for a few minutes, and then notice the flexibility in your neck. It completely changes. It's very magical. So that would be a moving practice that you could take up if you wanted to. And I do offer regular yoga classes online. So if you're interested and you want to connect with me at any time, then feel free to reach out. I'd be really thrilled to hear from you. So I know that folks have different meetings to get to, but if you'd like to join in the 61 point meditation, again, you could cameras on or cameras off. I'll just guide you through it. As I said, it'll take 5 to 10 minutes probably to get us through all the points, but you'll see how you're able to kind of move into that relaxation phase, hopefully by the end of the 61 points. So if you've got to leave, totally understand. Thank you so much for being here. I am sending loads of love and light from my heart to yours. And I wish you all the very best in the work that you're doing, and hope that you stay really safe and really well as we move toward 2022. I can't believe that. But if you're staying for the meditation, just take a minute to find a comfortable spot. If you're seated, same thing, feet grounded on the floor, set your spine up into alignment, and just figure out where you'll feel the most comfortable and restful. And as you get there, I encourage you either to take a soft gaze, definitely look away from your screen if you've got it in front of you. You might close your eyes if you're in a space where that feels comfortable. And you're going to imagine a little tiny white ball of light, maybe about 1 inch in diameter. And imagine that little ball of light is not only glowing, but also pulsating, and really pulsating at a rate that aligns with your natural state of breathing. So just reconnect to your breath, notice it flowing in and out of the body. There's no need to control it, because it will be there just naturally without anything that you do at all. But see and visualize that little ball of light just pulsating softly, and I will guide you to move that little ball of light through the different parts of your body. And so as we begin, your ball of light is glowing. Take a big, deep inhale and exhale out the mouth. Let it go. Then free focus on that a small ball of light. And please move the ball of light toward your third eye center, and that's the space just between your eyebrows. Feel and notice the ball of light pulsing slow and steady at the third eye center. Move the ball of light now, please, to the pit of your throat. And the ball of light continues to pulse and glow softly as you slowly move the ball of light toward your heart center. That space where all your creativity lies, and feel that small white ball of light nourishing the cave of your heart. Move the ball of light to the center of the right side of your chest. And then to your right shoulder. Down to your right elbow crease. Your right wrist. The tip of your right thumb. To your tip of your right index finger. The tip of your right middle finger. The tip of your right ring finger. The tip of your right little finger. Move the ball of light back to your right wrist, to your right elbow crease, your right shoulder, the center of the right side of your chest, and back to your heart center. As that ball of light continues to pulse and glow at your heart center, gently move it to the center of the left side of your chest, to your left shoulder, down your arm to the left elbow crease, to your left wrist, and to the tip of your left thumb, the tip of your left index finger, the tip of your left middle finger, the tip of your left ring finger, the tip of your left little finger, back to your left wrist, up to your left elbow crease, back to your left shoulder, across to the center of the left side of your chest, and back to your heart center. And take a moment to notice the sensation of that warm, pulsing ball of light at your heart center. And move that ball of light down to your navel, to your pubic bone, to your right hip point, your right knee, your right ankle, down to the right big toe, to your right second toe, your right middle toe, your right fourth toe, your right little toe, back to your right ankle, your right knee, your right hip point, your right pubic bone, over to your left hip joint, to your left knee, your left ankle, your left big toe, your left second toe, your left third toe, your left fourth toe, your left little toe, back to your left ankle, your left knee, your left hip point, your left pubic bone, back to your navel, back to the heart center, where you can let that warm pulsating ball of light moving at the speed of your breath. Just give yourself a little warmth at heart center. Move it back to the pit of your throat. And finally returning to your third eye center, the space between your eyebrows. Notice the ball of light that warmed and sent lovely pulsating light through all the points of your body. Returning back to your third eye center and bathing you in warm, radiant light. Enjoy this radiant light for as long as you like. There's no need to move. Let's take it all in. Thank you so much for joining me in today's session. Be well.